Hi there. This is Corey Jack once again with the Cornerstone Institute for Nonprofit Development and also Cornerstone Corporate Advisors. So today I want to talk a little bit about nonprofit bylaws. This is a question that we get asked often, especially for those who are trying to draft the bylaws on their own. So, first of all, what are bylaws? Bylaws are the governing document of the organization. It outlines how the organization is to be operated. It's a very, very important document. It should be drafted at the beginning phases of the nonprofit formation process. It is something that the board members should abide by. So let's talk a little bit about the contents of the bylaws. Usually the bylaws will start off stating the name of the organization, the official name as registered by the state. It will also usually list where the office is located, the physical address usually that the state has on file. Then it will go on to state what the organization's mission is. So whatever your mission is usually will be stated somewhere in the second or third article of the bylaws. Another key thing that it talks about is going to be board member terms. So exactly how long is a board member term going to be? Common responses are 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, and 4 years. Now, granted, it can be more than that, but those are going to be common responses. So whichever it is that you choose, you and your initial set of board members choose, you'll want to list that in the bylaws. The next thing that is going to ask for is how many total terms can board members serve? Whereas the first question asks, what was the length of one term? This question is referring to how many total terms. Once again, common responses for this is usually 2, 3, or 4. Granted, it could be shorter than that or longer than that. That's up to you and the board members, the initial set of board members. So what's going to dictate how long a person can be on the board is going to be how long a board term is and the total amount of board terms that you allow. Okay. Another thing that's going to be in there is what is the length of a board officer's term? So a board officer, of course, is a member of the board, but with additional duties, such as the board chairman or president, the board secretary, or the board treasurer. A lot of organizations will have an officer term mirror that of the actual board term. But once again, you have leniency there to create your own rules. Another important thing that's going to be covered in the bylaws is what type of vote is needed in order for a motion or a vote to pass, to carry. Common responses are going to be simple majority or 2/3 vote. Now, the important thing to know is that is the same number until you get to 7 board members. For instance, if you only have 3 board members, whether it's simple majority or 2/3, you would need 2 votes to approve a motion. If you have 5 board members, you're going to need 3, whether it's simple majority or 2/3. So this stays the same until you get to 7 board members. So you want to specify that. Once again, common responses are simple majority and 2/3. Unanimous is not something that you'll see often, and 50% is also not something that you'll see often, which would indicate that the vote is deadlocked amongst board members. Another thing that you'll see in the bylaws oftentimes is going to be the minimum amount of board members the organization can have and the maximum amount of board members the organization can have. Now, the minimum is pretty easy to set because most states require that nonprofit organizations have a minimum of 3 board members. The maximum amount is up to you, however. A lot of organizations will select having an odd number of board members. So for voting purposes, so you'll never have a tie vote if you have an odd number of board members. Many bylaws will also have an indemnification clause within it, which states that the organization will indemnify or at least cover the debts of any nonprofit board member who might be getting sued as their role as a nonprofit board member. So that just gives you an extra layer of protection if you're serving on the board. Bylaws will also state how many board meetings that a board member can miss before they are removed from the board. It will also outline the processes of removing a board member or adding a board member. It also covers when and how often the board is going to meet. Common responses to that question is either monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly. You can do other things, other options such as semi-annually, which I probably wouldn't do because that would indicate that the board is not meeting often. Or there are options that state something along the lines of the board will meet as it deems necessary. Some people will do that too. But remember, this is a nonprofit organization. Board members should be on the same page and they should be kept abreast of what's going on with the nonprofit. So it is good to meet regularly. Remember, the fact that you are a corporation, it requires that you have at least one meeting per year. Like that's a requirement. However, you want to meet way more than that. So I do encourage you meeting with some type of set regularity. Bylaws will also determine what counts as attendance to a board meeting. For instance, might want to specify that if someone cannot attend in person but can attend virtually, then that does count as attendance. And then you also want to state what counts as a quorum. A quorum is the amount of board members needed to be present in order for a board meeting to happen, or at least for the nonprofit to be able to vote on certain things. For instance, if you determine that a quorum is established once you have, say, 75% of the board members present, that means that if you have a board of, say, 4 people and only 2 people show up, you cannot vote on anything until at least one more member shows up. So it's important to have all of this listed in your bylaws and to make it clear so that all board members that's on the board understand the rules and can abide by them. So I hope this answered many of your questions. If you have any additional questions about bylaws, we encourage you to reach out. Have a great rest of your day.